How's it going, guys? I know you've been missing Mazda Mondays, and I kind of wanted to give you an update on what's going on right now. So as you guys know, I went to Texas to do some draggy runs and get some data for you guys. So unfortunately, the previous Mazda Monday didn't happen because the draggy didn't arrive on time. So, I did go down there and we did successfully do the logging stock with spark plugs, with the silicone hose and the LC500 pump. So we did the logging, and we have a lot of video footage. It's gonna take me a bit to kind of cut through all the filming I did to make the videos, but we got all the data. I was actually kind of disappointed. I didn't do my research correctly on who I chose as our subject, not realizing that this part of Texas was still at 3,000 feet and that the heat was so much more that the DA ended up being the same as if I was in Colorado. It was 3,000 feet, and with the heat, because it was plus 100, the DA made the car feel like it was at 10,000 feet. And here in Colorado, I'm at 6,000 feet. So the 0 to 60 time on this stock car was almost 10 seconds, right? And we're going to get into more on that. That's going to be in the next episode. I have to cut this video up into 4 sections. But unfortunately right now, guys, what the delay is, I'm glad this didn't happen when I was on my trip. I did, 1,200 miles, almost 1,300 miles in Texas down and back. And Sunday, after I got back, this last Sunday, I had some unfortunate events happen, and that's why you don't have the video yet. But what I am going to do, I'm going to show you what happened, and then we'll give you a little bit of my trip down to Texas, and then show you the car that we're going to be doing our results for, and then you'll have to wait till next week to see the results, or some of the results. So, as you can see here, there is no belt currently on my car. Sunday night, I went to test a new tune, and the tune was very powerful, and the belt had 14K miles on it, so it just let go. So unfortunately, this is what I will be doing this week. I'll be changing my belt. I was supposed to be editing a video, but I have only enough time to fix this car, and hopefully my this belt isn't wrapped around my crank and caused any damage to the key. So there's just belt shrapnel everywhere. I'm gonna clean that up, and I was impressed with this last tune. There was one last table that I was wanting to touch, and I finally touched it, and it had so much more power, it just destroyed the belt. So life happens. So I'm gonna be changing that belt out, and we'll get you guys some content of the results next week. All right, as you can clearly see, I'm at 72,000 miles, just over that. I've been charged almost 35,000 miles at this point. So my car's a little dirty, I know. And there's also needs a little bit of TLC. Look at the windshield. I need to get that fixed. And then my center console is a little jacked up. Yep. So when I get back, I'll take care of that. But let's just see what kind of miles per gallon we can get on this road trip down to Texas, and just kind of feel out the car and see what it can do. All right. All right, we're now on the road. I'm about 75 miles in, and I'm averaging 41 miles per gallon, going around 75 miles an hour, which is pretty good considering that I have about 100 pounds of tools, got my spare tire in there, everything I'll need for a road trip. And also there's the added weight from the Supercharger and the added air. So this is pretty good MPG considering this car is, tuned to make 260 wheel horsepower in front wheel drive and almost 230 in all wheel drive. So let's just see what happens after we drive a little bit longer. All right, we're almost 100 miles in and almost going 80 miles an hour. And MPGs are still 41.5, which means we're kind of on a slight decline because I know when I'm on a flat road, I can only get about 40 miles per gallon at 75 miles an hour. This is pretty good considering all the weight that's in the car right now. So I know on a return trip, we'll be going uphill, so the MPGs will go down a little bit. But all right, trying my hardest with cylinder deactivation. We obviously did hit some uphill. Roughly, we can do about 40 miles per gallon at 75 miles an hour. So I'm gonna see if I can get to, almost 480 on the tank. But obviously, we're gonna have to stop before that. So let's just see what we can do before I have to fill up again, and we'll get our estimate on our range. Guys, we're gonna pull into the gas station. I wanted to hit that 440, but I'm not gonna risk it. It's right there. I think I got about 30 miles left of range, but whatever. Filled up for 44, and it shows I had like 1.2 gallons left till empty. So I got to 436 with a gallon, 1.2 gallons left, and I'm going about 40 miles per gallon. So that means I could have easily went like 480, 490 on one tank. All right, we made it to Texas, and here is our test car. It is a 2020 preferred front-wheel drive sedan. It is almost the best model you can get unless you were able to get the base model. Like the 2019 sedan would be the only car that is going to be lighter than this with the 2.5 besides the manuals. And, that base model sedan doesn't have radar cruise control, or the Bose system like this one does. So it's slightly heavier, but we're going to go ahead and look over the car and see what we can do with it. It needs a little bit of TLC. All right, so I just wanted to show you a few things because we're trying to work out some technical difficulties that we're having. So I just want to show you the difference between two different types of motors. There's a cylinder deactivation motor and a non-cylinder deactivation motor. The way you can tell if a car has cylinder deactivation, there's going to be this thing above the valve cover, this contraption right here. So if you have cylinder deactivation, you'll have this contraption with the hose. And if you have a non-cylinder deactivation motor, which I'll show you right now, be warned, engine's a little dirty. It's okay. He knows that. It was like a last minute thing. We didn't have much time to prepare for this. But so the non-cylinder deactivation motor, if you look at the valve cover, you'll see that it does not have that contraption on the top of the valve cover at the top by the coil pack. So that's how you can tell if you have cylinder deactivation or not. So, all right, so what I'm doing here, I am loading a fresh stock file onto the car to completely restart it. So when we start doing our 0 to 60s, that is not a learn tune and we're getting fresh results. So I'm gonna go ahead and reset everything. I actually couldn't tune or pull his stock file, so I had to find another file that was similar to his and flash it. All right, what I'm doing is an initial check on this car to check the health and see what the readings are. I'm noticing the airflow is really low, so this car definitely needs some TLC. So I just want to get the initial readings before I touch anything on the car. And yeah, I think we're gonna have to change the air filter on this thing because he just told me that he has not changed it. So we'll do that. Before we do our log today, I know his engine dirty. I ain't gonna keep him in there. He embarrassed of it. But I want to just show you guys this. He's had this filter in here since he got the car. This got like 79,000 miles on it. So before we start the stuff today, I want to give it a fair shot because he did 0 to 60 last night. And it was 9.8, 9.9 seconds, almost 10 seconds to 60. And I was just like, something wrong. So the filter has been there since he started. So he got a new one today. And now we're going to put the filter in there. And I'm going to do my cold start log with the stock. And then we're going to do 0 to 60. And we're going to come back. And then we'll flash the tune and see what it does. And then after that, we're going to change the spark plugs. You're supposed to change them at 75,000. He's at 78, 79. So it's not a big deal. But if the car's not misfiring or anything, so if the spark plugs, improve performance, it's definitely worth it. This is what I was talking about. Even if you guys are, people say that don't change the performance, just, might as well change it to something new. Do your maintenance. All right, guys, now that we changed the air filter, we can get an accurate reading for our cold start log. And what I'm really looking for is to see what the fuel pulse width is relative to the amount of airflow. So with us changing the LC 500 pump in the low pressure pump in the tank, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the fuel pulse width so that it's shorter. Having a shorter fuel pulse width allows you to get more timing out of the same octane, because octane is used as a resistance to knock, right? And so when you're trying to increase timing, you don't want the fuel to sit in there longer, because that is a higher chance of knock. So what we're trying to do is reduce the actual amount of time that the fuel sits in a chamber. And that's one of the main benefits of direct injection, is that the injector is directly in the combustion chamber to reduce the amount of time needed for the fuel to spray. So that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to continue this trend of reducing the fuel pulse width needed so that we can increase the timing a little bit further on the same octane of gas, instead of having to use higher octane, because most of us are only going to have access to 91 octane. So I'm going to monitor this, and then after I install the pump, what I want to see is I want to see the fuel pulse width become shorter, because we get net extra pressure from the LC 500 pump. So we'll revisit this again after we change the pump and do another cold start log. And I'm going to look at the milliseconds on how long the fuel pulse width is. Right now it's 6.27. I want to see that around 5 or less with the bigger pump in there. The total pressure might not increase because it will relieve itself. Right now, same kind of car, almost. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and clean this engine bay off, because I'm gonna end up changing the spark plugs and that silicone hose, and we don't want dirt and stuff getting in there. And it just needed a wash. We're gonna go ahead and wash that right now. All right, guys, we're at the 0 to 60 test spot. We're gonna keep this as controlled as possible. We're gonna do the stock tune first for a few runs, and then switch over to the tune, and we'll get those results to you guys on the next episode of this little series.